your pay and benefits are to be cut by 30%. Why? Because you want to telework 1 or more days out of the week. This is what is inside of a bill that is recently introduced to Congress. A congressman from Louisiana says it's necessary to combat telework abuse. This is called the Federal Employee Return to Work Act. It doesn't matter where you live or where the federal employee lives. It could be Chicago, Washington, D.C., San Francisco. If they decide, I want to work from home 1 day a week, well, they fall under another pay chart. This is called the rest of the U.S. pay chart. Let's take a look at a quick example. If you were a mid-career type person in Washington, D.C., right now your salary would be about $125,000 a year. But if we put that same worker on the Russ pay scale, they would instead be earning $92,000 a year, even though that employee still lives and operates in the DC area. It's a high-cost region. They got to find the money for the high cost of rent, the high cost of daycare, the high cost of dry cleaning and everything else. But apparently now that's the employee's problem because they decided to work from home just 1 day out of the week. The congressman's exact statement was that federal employees get paid extra to work in higher cost cities. But what if they don't show up? Why should they get paid? Let me go ahead and try to answer this one. The government has locality pay in high cost areas because they're competing for talent. There are private companies that pay a lot more than the government. In order to compete for any level of talent, they're going to have to pay more. These private companies, their employees are teleworking. Their employees are remote work. So who are you going to entice if you take 30% of the pay and just cut it? Who is going to be trying to work a public sector job? In fact, the Congressional Budget Office recently discovered that the telework rates among the private sector is higher than federal workers. So if you're offering 30% less salaries in cities like Chicago, cities like Washington, D.C., who is lining up to try to take those jobs? You're going to attract a lower level of talent. But that wasn't enough. He introduced another bill that would completely remove locality pay from federal workers' pensions for all new employees. If you're a federal employee from the state of Mississippi or Arkansas, maybe that's not a big deal. But if you live in San Francisco, the locality pay is over 40%. If you live in New York City, Philadelphia, then it matters a lot. Because when you calculate the federal pension amount, you're including your high 3 salary, the top 3 years you earned the most. What's included in that is locality pay. So by completely stripping away that, you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of dollars less in federal pensions. Currently, we have a little over 1 million retired federal workers who receive a pension, and the average amount is a little over $2,000 a month. But keep in mind, this does not include Social Security. It does not include any investments like a 401k, TSP, IRA. Those amounts would be in addition to the pension. So this is yet another attempt to go ahead and strip away some of the compensation, some of the benefits that our federal employees currently have. Why is this happening? Is it because the government's getting too big? Some people say that. Are we at a historic level of federal employees? No, that could not be further from the truth. We actually have less federal employees than we did 40 years ago in 1984. That was during Ronald Reagan's administration, a conservative president. Well, if it's not because of the amount of federal employees, maybe it's because of the national budget. Too much of our money must go towards the workforce, right? Well, benefits for veterans and federal retirees, it makes up 7% of our budget right now. Defense is about twice that. But we don't have any recent bills coming into Congress talking about reducing our defense, do we? Even though we spend close to $1 trillion on defense and more than the next 9 countries combined, including Russia, China, and Japan. The simple reason is spending money in defense makes people rich. Look at Lockheed Martin. They've been paid over $63 billion. RTX has been paid close to $40 billion. Northrop Grumman has been paid $32 billion. Keep in mind, this is with taxpayers' money. Who are we defending against right now? Look at the map. Look at the military installations that we currently have all around the world right now. Are we in defense with this international presence? When we send $100 billion to Ukraine and Israel, that's your money, that's my money, that's our money. But the politicians will never argue to cut defense spending. But they will target employee compensation, reducing federal workers' benefits, because that's what the people who voted them into office believe. Whether the politician believes it or not, they're doing what the voters want. They're doing what their constituents want because they want to get reelected. They want to keep the power. And the people out there, millions of them, they view the government as the enemy. They view the government as evil. But then you bring up an example about the military. What about the military? Well, a lot of people will give them a pass and say, well, we need the military. Let's keep them. What about the Social Security Administration? The people giving checks to your grandparents. What about those workers? Okay, let's keep them. What about the Small Business Administration that gives out loans to small businesses around the country, injecting capital within our economy? Okay, well, let's keep them. What about the workers in the Veteran Affairs that make sure medical treatment and benefits are going to our warriors who've been fighting overseas? Well, let's keep them too. So, okay, some government is good. Maybe we're in disagreements about how much government we should have. But should that always result in an action to strip away the benefits and compensation of our federal workforce? Most people understand at their core that some government is necessary and even beneficial for the people. Now, they've been influenced and convinced otherwise, and that government is bad and government needs to go away. But if you're in the position where you're looking for federal employment, another question comes up. When should you apply? We have a presidential election coming up. Should you wait until after that? What if President Trump gets elected? What if Kamala Harris gets elected? How will that impact the landscape of jobs? Here's the answer. It doesn't matter. What you should be doing right now is setting your filters and applying to jobs that you know you're qualified for. Do not be frozen in time about what may or may not occur, because we don't control that. You only control your actual actions. The real question is, why are you not applying? What is stopping you? Do you know your job series? Do you know your salary expectation? Do you know your location? If you do, you can start applying right now. If you are still wondering about the federal hiring process, about different types of government jobs, the website, usajobs.gov. I did a live stream recently, answered over a dozen questions. A lot of these same questions, they could be on your mind. If you're interested in that, I want you to watch this video next. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.